Hello guys and welcome back to Garuda. Yeah, first of all, a quick sorry, we had to skip 2 weeks of Garuda episodes. This is basically down to my own fault, which is not the fault actually, because I've been to university in Berlin, as I said a few times already. But anyway, there was just no time to get it in, and Silv was also busy, as I was as well, because you might have seen already that both of us have uploaded the first episode of our special PAX Park, and this is basically just the reason. And now we are back onto Garuda, and yeah, just go on as normal as it was before. Yeah, and I'm again joined by the lovely Silvarret. Hi, man.
Hey everybody, how are you doing?
I'm doing good today, and I hope you too, after the last days of getting the park done.
It's been very stressful for me to finish the PAX Park, but it's good to return to Garuda and some of the stuff that we've been working on earlier as well. So I'm actually glad to sit here, even though I'm super tired at this point.
Yeah, I feel you. I'm feeling kind of the same, but you know, maybe that's also the reason why I had a really laid back and chilled episode of Garuda, and you will me see building a boat. Simply, it's simple as that. I'm just going to build a boat in this episode, and yeah, it's, you know, it was harder than I thought at the beginning, but I also tried to make it a little bit different than I do it usually. I just jumped on an idea that Silvarret introduced a few months ago and tried not to move my camera as much as I did in my other episodes, and tried to kind of, yeah, rebuild the process of a real boat being built on supports and stuff like this. I don't know if that was working too well in the end. You might judge it yourself. But yeah, basically we are going to talk about the whole episode.
I think that's really cool though. Like, just one boat in one episode is, to be honest, at first I was like, dude, you built only one boat? But then you told me you're like, built the entire thing to make it seem as though you're actually realistically building the boat and like building it on like the wooden carriages and everything. I think it's really cool. And besides, the detailing of actually making a boat like this in Planet Coaster takes tremendous amount of time to get everything right, to make your own kind of pieces. And I think it's really interesting. I never really expected this. I remember still when you sent me that first text, just sending the picture of a boat, I was like, what? This wasn't... I never saw this coming. Actually, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, but I might maybe just not to make expectations too big. It's just a little bit of a playing around stuff, like yeah, getting with these simple supports around. I'm just a little bit careful with this process, because I know maybe if people just expect a process like I've been doing with, for example, the trailer I've rebuilt from Planet Coaster, where I did a lot of stuff with, yeah, basically doing stuff with the redo and undo button, which can really work as a brilliant way to show a process of something going on. It's maybe not as detailed as this in this episode. It's basically just to try to stick into within the limits of the supports that you've been given to make kind of a boat, and it's also a little bit raised up from the ground and floating in the air, holding just from a few supports, and not too crazy, but I hope you like it. And yeah, in the end, I think I just wanted to get this damn boat in, and it was really hard because it had so many different angles, you know. It's like it's not just rounded in 2 dimensions, and it's like rounded up in every dimension you can imagine. It's going a little slightly upwards to the front of the boat. It's of course rounded to the bottom part, but it's also rounded again to the middle of the front part, like really edgy to the front, if you know what I'm talking about. So it's like really curved into every direction, which freaked me out.
It's like, it's one of those things which Planet Coaster is super unique in being able to actually build these things in-game, but it reminds me of those comments that I've sometimes seen on Planet Coaster of like actual 3D developers and such designers, artists, saying that it's amazing what you can do in a game, but sometimes people are pushing it so far that it would actually be quicker to just open a 3D modeling program and make it. I kind of feel like that would be kind of the case with this boat, especially with the way that it's, you know, put together using God, wooden planks and everything.
Yeah, but at least you know every plank of those, you know.
Oh yeah, I know those planks.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's an inside joke nobody's gonna get. Well, maybe some people.
Damn it. Yeah, it's super. I mean, it's like super crazy to build structures like this. But in the end, at least for me, it's also super fun to see in the end that it really worked out and it worked together like this. Because when I first started the boat, I must admit that I thought it would be easier. But after just the first few planks, I noticed, okay, that will be a tough thing to do. But in the end, I don't know. It's just, it gives you a good feeling when you see it finally turns out to be working. Do you have the same feeling?
Oh, that's amazing. It's so hard to get that sometimes. I think the most common feeling that anybody gets in a game like this is that sort of annoying feeling where you're halfway through something and you want to finish it, but on the other hand, you're also like, I gotta sit through 3 hours of doing this stuff again, and it's sometimes really hard to find that motivation to finish something. But then again, just the feeling of looking at your own thing in game and spinning around in the game for an hour with the camera, just looking at what you've built and totally wasting your time, is just one of the most amazing
and
things.
Especially in Planet Coaster, where every detail is again so much worthy to just spend a few minutes to look at. I mean, like when I finished the PAX Park and tried to get everything running, I also found myself just watching things from every direction and watching also the simple reactions of my guests, because the animations are so great as well. And that's maybe something you forget about when you're always going to build like the buildings and stuff like this. But also just to, I mean, like really just follow people around and see what they're doing in the game is so amazing. I mean, like they're kind of standing still when something is built in the background and just watching at the coaster, and they just exchange they have eye contact with each other and sitting on a bench and talking to each other in this funny Planko language and stuff like this. And I mean, like it's so catching when you're just
It's the magic of a video game, I guess, which you kind of can lose if you're just focusing on the aesthetics of making a theme park, which is beautiful. I always say that it's kind of like painting or music in a sense that it's a very creative hobby. But yeah, you're right. I guess you tend to forget sometimes that this is a game in the end, and you can also just sit back and enjoy the ride. I'm sorry about that pun. I didn't mean to, but just actually take in what is the actual game.
I think, and something I've noticed, I guess we already talked about, but I again noticed that because I'm so much I don't know, it's from art perspective, it's so interesting because when you look at the guests and you go really in detail with them, they are really comic-y, they are really like colorful, and those faces are nearly like emoticon made faces with like big exaggerations, like big noses and big mouth and stuff like this. But when you just zoom out and have the major, or like let's say the whole image of the park with people moving around, they seem to be so realistic, and the movement and the whole shape of the body and the proportions and everything else just seems so real, which is so crazy to have two completely different styles, but it just works together. I don't know how they did this, but it's amazing.
I think that's a good point, actually. I never really gave that a thought. For me, the thing about the cartoony look is mostly that it's a thing that ages much better than trying to go for something realistic, because there's no way that you can have realistic crowd simulation and actual realistic people in, you know, having thousands of people to simulate in a theme park game. This is also why theme park games are traditionally some of the worst running games ever, because it's just so hard to keep that stuff up. And like the cartoon look is also kind of a necessity, but actually being in game right now as well and zooming out, I could kind of see what you mean. Yeah, like if you zoom out a lot, it's just crowds going around a park, and it's just your dream park in game pretty much. It's you kind of get detached from the cartoony look. And I also think Planet Coaster has been judged for having a cartoony look to the game quite a lot. So I still remember that when it just came out, there was, you know, the sort of Roller Coaster Tycoon versus Planet Coaster battle, where Planet Coaster was, according to quite a few people, a very cartoony looking game. But I don't think it really is, because aside from the guests, it is actually very realistic. The details of the roller coasters are 100% on point. Well, maybe 99% on point. I remember some people like highlighting catwalks and being like, this part of the metal shouldn't be like that. But you know, it's it's pretty realistic. It's not a cartoony game in that sense. It's just the guests are the one most cartoony games, and I guess you've got some cartoony brands and stuff like that. But I like the aesthetic. I think it sits in an uncanny valley between realism and a cartoony look, but it does it quite well.
Yeah, definitely. I can totally agree with that. I mean, like, the cool thing about it is if you just get some screenshots from the game and put them into Photoshop, you don't have to do much to make it like looking like a really realistic photo. I remembered when I did this with my Space Mountain for my first ever screenshot to be released.
Yeah, but that Space Mountain is also just really way too good.
Yeah, but it's in game, you know. It's you're just forgetting about if detail is good or not, because I don't want to judge myself. I just you know. But it's about you just open it and you don't have to do anything else than just adjusting a few colors. I didn't do anything else. Okay, I put some new clouds in. I have to mention that because I just wanted to have clouds, because I know there are in-game clouds, but on this screenshot there was like no cloud at all. So I just put in some clouds, but that's it. I just didn't do anything else. Like, there was no smoothing, there was no kind of correction in the corner shaping. There was kind of nothing else apart from just slightly getting a photo filter about it. That's it. And that's just showing how good the game in general is, how good the textures are, how good the depth of field, because there is a depth of field in the game. And it's, I was...
And the lighting engine especially. I think the lighting engine is, for me at least, what does it for
amazing,
the game.
Yeah. I mean, like, you could just watch sundawns and sunsets in the game for hours.
Yeah, I actually sometimes I try to remember how it felt, because, you know, right at this point it kind of feels normal. Like, the way the game looks is sort of accepted in a sense that it's very taken for granted at this point. And I don't know if I'm really coming across here, but I still remember like the first couple of days playing the game that the lighting for me, every single second of just playing the game was astonishing and looked beautiful, and I just kind of felt blessed playing the game. Now I kind of take it for granted more. I still know that it's, you know, generally in the genre probably the best looking game out there, but it doesn't really strike me as much anymore. But yeah, it's a really beautiful game, and I think especially just getting used to it in the beginning stages when you just have the game for a couple of days, that was still though the best time to play the game and just be in awe of the way it looks, because at this point, I don't know, I guess I'm just kind of used to how good the game looks. And only sometimes if you like get a really cool screenshot, like if you go into an angle somewhere and you take a picture of your park and it's a really cool shot, I guess I still kind of feel that way, like, wow.
Yeah.
That does
that's a good point. I guess it's a pretty normal process if you're so much in game as we are, because building like the whole time, you kind of it's normal to get used to it, you know. I just had the last time I had this was it was actually not my own reaction. It was the reaction of a friend of mine who was for a few hours here, and we were talking about it, and he's kind of not too much into my YouTube stuff. He knows that I got a channel, but he's not giving too much about it. And then he was suddenly asking, what am I doing there? And I was like, okay, I just show you the game. And he has never heard of it or seen anything of it before. And I showed it to him, and he was like, damn, that looks real. And he was, I mean, he was like, the last time he was playing games like that was really Roller Coaster Tycoon 1. So that was like the last time, and then I don't know, he's not into gaming at all, and he was like, really, damn, just look. And he was like, okay, go there and show me this and show me that, and he couldn't stop asking to be shown, to have things to be shown to him. And that was really cool to see actually how somebody else who's completely and entirely not into computer games at all was really like, oh, that's great, that's great, that's great. Maybe I get him to buy this game as well, I don't know. Yeah.
That would be great. Actually, I think that's the first reaction of many people. That was definitely my first reaction though, and I kind of wish I could have it again. I kind of wish I could just go back to those first couple of hours exploring the game. Secretly, to me at least, those were the best. Not that it isn't fun anymore now, but just that awe of experiencing everything for the first time, I think, is really great. Though I guess I still kind of have it with some of the updates, and that's also kind of why I'm looking forward to the next update as well, because I can kind of feel for myself, at least at this point, but also many people in the community in general, that it's kind of getting, you know, stallish again. We've been playing around with the current stuff for quite a while, but then they recently announced that there's going to be a new update, and I'm just really looking forward to that update and actually, you know, getting some new stuff in our hands again.
I must,
even though, you know, we have no idea what it's going to be.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I must say that although it was kind of a little bit of stress now, but the PAX Park kind of was really a nice addition to my recent projects, I have to say, because for all of my projects, I'm far away from having a park finished that's able to be run, and that one really had to be in a shape that it is being able to be run at the end. And that was kind of a cool challenge to have. Like, I just was like, okay, maybe a deadline is not the best thing to have, but in the end it was cool because I just needed to get this thing done, and to see what I came up with in the end is really, I'm really happy with the park, I have to say. And that's something which is not too easy for me, I have to say. Maybe some builds in general I'm pretty happy with, but with the entire thing, like also the layout of the path and stuff like this, there's a lot to it to be happy with it. But I am in the end. It was a really cool experience.
For me, it's actually the first time that I've finished like a full-fledged park. I've never actually been able to finish a full-sized park. It's crazy. But yeah, it's first time I actually did it. Well, I guess it has some open spots in it. But what I mostly experienced with it, I guess, is the creativity that you can sometimes get when you're on a very tight amount of time that you have to build everything in, but also when you're just randomly like coming up with stuff on the spot. Something that I find myself struggling with as well, and what many people probably still struggle with, is actually coming up with things to do and spinning around in a game being like, oh, what should I do? What the hell am I going to build? What am I doing with my life? Well, maybe not the last one, but there's always that existential dread in my life. But it's basically, you know, you have those moments in the game where you're just like, well, how am I going to do everything? But sometimes you just have to let it go and build random stuff and see how it works out, because very often it just works out into some great stuff. And even if it doesn't, you can still do some things with it. And I think just randomly building things and not worrying about it too much still is actually the best way to get the best and the most fun results.
Talking about random stuff, we are exactly at the point which the movie is, what I'm talking about. The time-lapse is showing at the moment, but first of all, totally agree to this point, great one. I just want to quickly mention, because in the background you've seen that I just tried to get the boat in with this kind of little slide to get it into the water, and not just grabbing the build and put it back into the water. And this was exactly what you told before. I was just having this idea in this second, and it was like, okay, just give it a try. If it doesn't work, you can cut it out. But I just left it in because I thought it was fun. It's not working too well because obviously I had to grab the boat and put it step by step into the water. But yeah, I think that's underlining the point you made just a few seconds ago, and that's maybe also a good thing to end this video, because we are already through it. Yeah, we are.
Really?
That was kind of...
I had one last question though.
Yeah, of course, I can put in as many screechers as I want.
Okay, awesome. What was actually, because I had no idea, what was actually your inspiration for the boat?
Maybe one of the craziest day in Thailand in general, because we've spent one day having a boat tour over the big river in Bangkok, which I can't remember how the river's called anyway. And there were those boats also passing along, and I was like, holy crap, how can they stay in the water? Because with this really big roof on them, they seem to be really heavy and really, I don't know. And I found those boats really interesting. And they are slightly different shaped in Bangkok, but as we were talking in the last episode about this little river spot there with the waterfall, and I was talking like, oh, I could imagine going with the boat there. I remembered that, and I thought, okay, just try to get a boat in. Yeah, that's it, basically.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. I actually had no idea, because it's, I mean, for me it was a totally out of the blue idea. I never really gave it a thought to make a boat like that and put it into the game, so I was just very surprised by that. But yeah, that's pretty cool.
I also thought of maybe taking this one as kind of a little place where people can sit for a restaurant, which we could put down on the other side of the park. But maybe I give it a shot in the next episode. But first of all, it's your turn again, right?
Yeah, I am pretty sure. I have no idea what I'm gonna do in the next episode. But then again, I guess I can always just pick up the park and do some random stuff and see where the hell I'm gonna end up at the end.
Which is, as we learned, the bad thing to do, right? So
possibly, though not always. Sometimes some planning is good, but yeah, sometimes it's just most fun and best to get into it and do stuff. Anyway, yeah, that's what I'll probably end up trying in the next episode.
So I think we might end the video here because I have to jump into the game and take some screenshots to fill in the video. Okay, so guys, thank you for watching again. Thanks Silv again for being here. And yeah, hear you soon already on Wednesday with the next... No, not on Wednesday.
The next...
No, yeah, that's
sure.
on Saturday, right?
The meetings are usually that we have on Wednesday, though I'm not sure if we moved it to Saturday. Should we be discussing this in a public video?
No, I guess not. we should. I just wanted to say with the next PAX Park. But anyway, go.
Oh yeah,
it's also
true. Yeah, we don't have meetups. Okay, I haven't slept a lot in the last couple of days. I'm not the brightest person.
Anyway, I think that's good entertainment. That's good entertainment, guys. Maybe.
I'm not. I've been following like a YouTuber recently who records all his videos at 3 a.m. in the morning, and it's the best thing. But anyway, yeah, I think we'll be meeting up for Koala Beach and see whatever we can actually do with that park, which will be quite interesting as well. But until that time, it's just gonna be the PAX
All right,
park.
guys. So yeah, as I said, I think there's not much more to say. So have a nice evening, have a nice morning, whatever time you're watching it. So bye bye, guys.
Bye, guys.